A congresswoman in Florida just came out to tell us that she got men in black for knowing so much about UFOs and spills the tea on UFOs of non-human origin. Let's take a little look at this. So this came to my attention from, well, the Daily Mail, so take it with a pinch of salt, but a Florida congresswoman says that she believes that some of the UFO sightings that have made the headlines in recent years are of non-human origin and possibly interdimensional beings. Now, this is a topic that I covered in a very recent video, so go back and check out that video if you want the scoop on that. But Representative Anna Paulina Luna is a member of the House Committee on Oversight and Reform, which has been investigating claims of UFOs and carrying out historic hearings with military whistleblowers. She revealed to the Grant Mitt podcast this week that after a classified meeting with Air Force whistleblowers, she absolutely believes that the crafts they and others have described are of non-human origin, and this could be absolutely huge. And this actually landed her in a hell of a lot of trouble because the men in black supposedly turned up at her front door. Luna also claimed that she, at the same meeting, that she was men in black, first by officials from the Pentagon who attempted to cancel the visit, and then by the CIA agents who were inexplicably shadowing her meeting with the Air Force personnel. Her phrase referred to the pop culture conspiracy theory image of government agents in black suits who were sent to keep people quiet about UFO sightings. Quote, being a member of Oversight, we follow up with whistleblowers, and we also can conduct our own investigations, she told Mittelena? I think that's how you pronounce it. In the course of one of these investigations, she said Luna and the two other US representatives went to Eglin Air Force Base on the Florida Panhandle, where they met with one such whistleblower. The other two representatives who came along to the visit were Tim Burchett of Tennessee, who is also a member of Oversight and Accountability Committee, and Matt Gates of Florida, who is on the House Armed Services Committee, House Judiciary Committee. God, I can't get words out. She came away from that visit with strong conclusions. Quote, I can tell you, based on my investigations not in classified settings, that I absolutely believe that there are things that are advanced technologies not of human origin, she told Mittelena. Now, this is absolutely huge. So we're going to take a little look at the segment within the podcast. It comes right at the very end. So they go on about a lot of other political things, the US election coming up later this year and lots of other topics. But this is the real talking point of this entire podcast. Take a little listen to this.
Okay, guy. But it's not just him. It's people in the media who've said, it was wrong what we did. We were wrong about Biden, and this is why we're going to be supporting him moving into 2024.
Absolutely. Well, cool. That's interesting. Well, let me ask you this. I know we briefly talked. Tell me about you've heard about the UAPs, UFOs.
Yeah.
So tell us about that.
So I got Men in Black. And
what a way to start your, answer, by the way. I've heard you're a big part of the UFO community, da-da-da. Yeah, I've got Men in Blacks. Bro, what?
Now, a lot of people are going to be like, that's crazy. But ultimately what happened is, being a member of Oversight, we follow up with whistleblowers, and we also can conduct our own investigations. So myself, Representative Burchett from Tennessee, and Representative Gates were on a small codel to the Panhandle because a whistleblower came forward from Eglin Air Force Base pilots to Representative Gates' office saying that the Air Force was essentially covering up UAP activity, and we need...
Now, that's crazy. These pilots clearly went to their higher-ups and were like, look, this is what we've seen. And these higher-ups have covered it up. So they went to this lady and these other two representatives and was like, look, we know you'll listen to us. Here's what we know. And that's why they set up this meeting. But I would love to be a fly on the wall in that meeting, wouldn't you?
Needed to look into it. So we coordinated the meeting. Pentagon tried to initially cancel the first one. We got it back on the books. We show up there and we get in, and the base commander tried to basically tell us that we didn't have authorized clearance to look into and speak to some of the witnesses, of which you don't tell Congress that we don't have the authorized clearance, especially members of House Armed Services, Oversight, and Judiciary. So
that is just fishy in itself, isn't it, really? You think about it, this woman's gone there, she's tried to arrange this meeting with two people that they know, the Pentagon and that have witnessed this because they've reported it to their higher up, so they're very well aware of what's going on and why she's come in, and they're just trying to completely cock block the situation. No clearance, go away. Cancelled the meeting, go away. So many other things whipped out of the book, go away. And that's just fishy in itself.
So I kind of had it out with the base commander, which is kind of funny because this guy really thought that he had it going on, and he actually, in the middle of our meeting, he took off on leave, which never happens with a delegation going to military base. But then also too, we had pretty sure people from the agency that were there as well. And so you really don't find that. I've worked at Hurlburt Field. I worked in the military for a number of years. And so why would a intelligence agency need to be there on a meeting for whistleblowers?
She's asking all the right questions. Why would that need to be the case? Why is it being cock-blocked? Why did this guy suddenly go on leave halfway through? All these questions which just all are signposting red flags right now. They are just all pointing in one direction, which is they know something that they don't want everyone else to know. It's crazy.
So that happened. I can tell you, based on my investigations, not in a classified setting, that I absolutely believe that there is things that are advanced technologies not of human origin. And then we conducted the interview with David Grush. As you saw, it was one of the most widely attended congressional hearings in U.S. history. The information that was brought forward was particularly alarming because you're hearing about people that have potentially been murdered and covering up this information.
I know I'm pausing it, and I know people hate that, so I do apologize, but there's just a lot to talk about. She's offloading a lot of information now. The first key point there is that, obviously, she said, while I'm not in a confidential setting, but that, I can tell you this, that goes to tell me, what could she offload if she was in a confidential space? What does she know that she could tell us had this been a different circumstance? Do you know, if you get what I'm trying to say, obviously, it would never be the case because if it was publicly broadcasted, it would never be confidential. But it tells me that she's alluding to something greater than what she's actually saying, if that makes sense. Which, when she's talking about huge non-human weaponry and craft, that's a terrifying prospect.
And it was very interesting, so I advise everyone to watch it.
Yeah, was it... So based off what, and have you received classified information or just what they said?
No, yeah, we've, but I can't talk about that.
Of course you can't talk about it. So what did you, before you came to Congress, did you think aliens were real?
So I wouldn't call them aliens. I really like what Grush calls them. He says that they're interdimensional beings, and he's very specific about that.
What does that mean?
If you want the lowdown on that, go and check out that other video that I made because that spills some tea.
I think it means that they're not necessarily a biological entity from another planet per se.
Interesting.
What I will say is, I share a Christian perspective on many things. And what's been interesting about this is the amount of stigma that existed previously to this cycle. But we have such a bipartisan push for transparency on this topic that they can't necessarily hide it. It has been interesting to see the levels of things that come up. Oh, there's no authorized clearance. You don't have the read-in authority for this, that, and the other. Well, if Congress is writing the bills to fund these programs, yet we don't have authorized access and oversight into it, then that's not necessarily something that happens in a free country, right? So we continue to push. But, it's been very interesting to see some of the stuff that's come up.
Was it before you learned? Did you think it was going to be completely different than what you learned? Was it?
No, I had some suspicions leading up into it. When I was stationed at Portland Air Guard Unit a number of years ago, I remember there was a incident that occurred, and the pilots kind of came back and asked one of them what he thought it was, and he couldn't really talk about it. He didn't want to because the stigma that the military has is that you're crazy, right? But we're seeing that with especially technology that we have, even your iPhone, for example, you can record things and it's not necessarily going to be classified. So
she's definitely talking about the who was it? The Element 115 guy. His name escapes me. Bob Lazar. She's definitely talking about Bob Lazar because, he obviously came out and was like, I got swatted because the government were literally listening into a private conversation that he was having through his iPhone. So I definitely think that was a little nod to that.
I kind of knew about it. I knew that that was a thing within the military and that people were kind of worried about talking about it. But I think now, especially with transparency, we hope that more people come forward. The people that have come forward are credible. We've done the background checks on them. They're not, tin hat wearing kooks. Right. But, historically, there's a lot there that's to uncover. And I suggest that everyone look into it on their own.
Interesting. So to kind of wrap up at the end, what do you think, what are some of your main goals for the rest of your term?
Right, so this then goes on to talk about her term once again. If you want to check out the full interview, obviously that segment that we've just highlighted there is all of the alien stuff, but if you want to hear the other stuff that she goes on to talk about, goes on about very political things that I don't understand. But if you want to check it out, go over to the Grant podcast and you can see the full episode. But a lot of things there she alluded to, but clearly wasn't allowed to say because of confidentiality reasons. And I wish we could have had so much more, and you could see that she was desperate to say more, but clearly just wasn't allowed because, she doesn't want to get in trouble. And there was a lot of signposting for people to go and do their own research, but kind of, guiding your hand to what to research so you can kind of get yourself up to speed, which I found it was very subliminal, but it was definitely in there. She was like, go and do your own research on this. I can't tell you anything because I'm not allowed to, but you can go and find the open source information and do your own research. I hope, in fact, she's the kind of person that will spearhead this whole thing. Like her, David Grush, and other people like this, they are like the head of this spear, and they are just plowing through it. They are like, no, we know stuff, goddammit, and we're going to tell people stuff. So I can't wait. That she is going to be the one to spill the tea, and it's going to be piping hot, and it's just going to be great. So what do you guys make of that? Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments below. It's heating up. While you're down there, be sure to jump to get the hell out of that like button. Subscribe if you're new and tickle my little bell so you get notified whenever we upload. And until next time, guys, I hope that you have enjoyed. I cannot wait to see you in the next one, and I'll speak to you later. Peace.